Everyone thinks of the BMW M3 as the original 1980s homologation race special, but it's not. In fact, BMW only made the M3 because Mercedes-Benz made the 190e 2.316, and Mercedes only made the 190 because of something Jimmy Carter said. Find out more about that and find out which of these two cars is actually the cooler of the two on this episode of Head to Head. We're here at Germany's famed Nürburgring in the rain and the sun and the rain and the sun, because everything you've ever heard about the constantly changing weather is true. But the rain makes this the perfect time to talk about the 190e 2.316, because the first ever race on the Grand Prix circuit was in 1984 in 20 identical 2.316s driven by Formula One drivers. The winner was a guy that no one had ever heard of named Ayrton Senna. The compact 190e was conceived in the late 1970s in reaction to Jimmy Carter's proposed fuel economy standards. To make sure everyone took the baby Benz seriously, it was designed from the outset to win the World Rally Championship. When Mercedes brass found out just how much that was going to cost, they freaked out and banned motorsports altogether. Luckily, the engineers ignored them, and the 2.316 broke 3 world and 9 international speed records. Teams like AMG then campaigned the 190 in touring car championships with secret help from those engineers. All of this did not go over well in Munich, and BMW retaliated with the M3, which was factory-backed from its development to its checkered flag. There was nothing, not even the killer Benz, that could beat it around a racetrack. The engine block came straight from the old 1,000 horsepower Formula One car, the head from the M1 supercar. In European form, the 2.3-liter made 195 horsepower, 10 more than the Benz did, and thanks to the car's lighter weight, it beat the Mercedes to 60 by a few tenths. On the all-important Autobahn, though, it was a dead heat. The Mercedes engine was actually designed by Cosworth, and unfortunately the US version was detuned quite a bit, and the cars came fully loaded. The Eurospec 2.316, however, got only what it needed to make it one of the fastest cars on the Autobahn. It cost more than a 6-cylinder S-Class, but it was faster than the V8, and like all Mercedes of the time, it was over-engineered to the point of ridiculousness. Wings, spoilers, and flared fenders don't look all that insane today, but both cars were criticized for being boy racerish back in the day. That criticism is as misguided now as it was then, because every modification done to these cars was purely functional. And all the BMW and Mercedes signage here at the Nürburgring is a direct result of these two cars and their aero modifications battling it out on the track. Driving this old Mercedes is a reminder that progress isn't always progress. See, the 190 is 30 years old, and it drives better than a lot of modern cars, and more importantly, it rides better than almost all of them. There's nothing in the AMG warehouse these days that rides like this. Nothing, a base C-Class doesn't ride like this. Yeah, things were just better in those days. The trade-off for that great ride means a lot of body motion. So you turn the Mercedes into a corner and it likes to lean over and take a set before it goes. But it doesn't stop gripping. In fact, the 190's grip around corners and its braking performance is really up to modern standards. This car can really keep up with modern traffic and the best of modern traffic. It's really impressive. And then you add the engine on top of it. Clearly, this is a Cosworth engine. It sounds unbelievable. It's that nasally intake honk that you love to hear in race cars, mixed with smooth, quiet running. This 4-cylinder never makes 4-cylinder noises. At least none of the bad ones. Mercedes gets no respect on these roads around the Nürburgring, but this M3 is a star. And more than just being a regular M3, it's an M3 Sport Evo, which makes this a little bit of an unfair comparo. The Sport Evo is the last of the M3s built. It has a 2.5 liter engine instead of a 2.3, and it's much more hard focused and track oriented. It's also that much cooler. The M3 was made to go racing, of course, and none more so than the Sport Evo, and this engine just pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls. It's not quite as, let's say, usable as the Mercedes engine is, but even the regular 2.3 liter M3 engine was rough and gruff, and it buzzed and it shook the interior around. It's the complete opposite of the Mercedes. But in 2.5 liter form, it was very potent. This is a very, very fast car, just not one that you probably want to live with every day. Is that a problem? No. It's hard to believe the M3 and the Mercedes use the same transmission, because that car's shifter is just kind of awful, and this is from the gods. This is Germany at its best, fighting with itself for no reason other than to entertain us. Once Mercedes reinstated factory backing, the competition got even closer, and the cars eventually produced over 230 horsepower on the road and 330 horsepower in race trim. The E30 3 Series is widely regarded as one of the best driver's cars of all time, and the M3 is of course the best of them. Its mission was clear from day one, to beat that pesky Mercedes, and it did it everywhere, except in the showrooms where Mercedes had a slight lead in sales. And so we find ourselves at turn 1 on the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, the place where these two cars went head to head, racing in DTM races for years. I'm not going to say that the M3 isn't the better race car, and I'm not going to say that the M3 isn't the better driver's car, but I am going to say that the 190 is a better car than the E30 is. And I'm also going to say that the 2.316 Story is cooler than the M3 Story, and ultimately, it's the cooler car of the two. In fact, it's so cool I just bought that one and I'm driving it home. It's a long way and very wet. It's California. Oh yeah, no, I did. I really did. Yeah, I'm shipping it home with, it's a company called Cosdell, and they ship all of the cars for Pebble Beach. And I thought, well, all right, the car's 25 years old. It's easy to import at this point. Cosdell's doing the paperwork, and next time I see it, it'll be in my driveway next to my E30 in California.